"This is a miracle granted by God," our heroine said. "No one has ever needed her. She's only ever been despised. But through this marriage, maybe she could finally be of use to someone. She'd become the bride they wanted her to be, even if they come to hate her enough to want her dead." At Count Persephone's mansion, Lunia, the eldest daughter of the Count, was pinned to the wall by her elder half-brother. Scared, she asked if there was something he wanted, and Nike, the eldest son, didn't like how cold she was, especially for being a woman. He figured it was time to teach her how to please a man. What in the Alabama is this? Lunia was disgusted, reminding him that he was the heir to the Count's title, and people might start rumors. Trying to walk away, she told him not to concern himself with her. But Nike doubted there'd be rumors because no one in the house cared what happened to a nuisance like her. Lunia's eyes shook with fear, knowing there was no place for her in this house. But there was nowhere else for her to go either. A maid would run in, thankfully, letting her know the Count was calling for her. A summons had arrived from the palace, addressed to Lunia. Meeting with her parents, Count Persephone told Lunia to rejoice. An imperial decree had come in, declaring that Lunia had been chosen to marry Duke Hades Cronoa. She wasn't allowed to refuse either, and her father was glad they had kept her alive. However, Nike would object, refusing to hand over his sister to the terrifying lord of the underworld. Wait, what? What could be worse than what he was about to do to her? The Cronoa family, known as the Empire's watchdogs, commanded mages and knights alike with their immense power, and they were feared as the lords of death. Regardless, Count Persephone saw him as a most reliable ally. The Countess was happy to get rid of their troublesome daughter and gain the Emperor's favor. Lunia had always been treated like she wasn't wanted, but if she got married, she could finally leave this house. So, she happily accepted. By nighttime, Lunia arrived at the Cronoa mansion in a dazzling white wedding dress. A tall, black-haired man approached her, apologizing for summoning her on such short notice, and introduced himself as Hades Cronoa. As light touched his face, she was stunned by his beauty. As Hades took her hand and led her forward, she wondered when the last time was someone had held it. For so long, she'd been told she was worthless, but now she would be Lord Hades' wife, and she wanted to prove she could be of use to this house. Hades then presented a ring to her, telling her she could choose to wear it or not, but it'd be better to wear it in public to avoid gossip. Then he'd bluntly say he had no intentions of spending the night with her. Lunia was concerned, asking if this was a white marriage, a contractual marriage without physical relations, and Hades responded that it was. The Cronoa family, masters of both magic and swordsmanship, holds half the Empire's military might. But in exchange for their immense power, they were cursed. Every head of the house goes mad and dies upon reaching the age of 30. The only way to break that curse was to spend the night with a bride chosen by God and conceive a child. Ooh, I see where this is going. Hades told Lunia she was free to return home if this displeased her, but she begged to stay. He then agreed, but made it clear he would neither embrace her nor love her. If things went on like this, he would die. Lunia had always been called useless, yet she was the only one who could save him. Hades came across some flowers in a vase, and she confessed that she was the one who arranged them and apologized for acting on her own. But he didn't mind, since they were having guests today. He wasn't good at things like this, so he thanked Lunia for her help. Although they weren't husband and wife in a true sense, she still didn't want him to die at 30. She wanted to save him. Some clerics were discussing how stubborn Hades was acting. They had hoped he would change his mind as death drew closer. The fall of House Cronoa would mean the fall of the nation, so they let Lunia know that this was her duty. She didn't need to be loved, but just desperately wanted to be useful. After she served Hades a drink, causing his senses to become foggy, she would take him to bed. If she could save him, she'd cherish the memory and live proudly with it. Okay. Not how I expected this to go. Do not try this in real life. Bad. Illegal. That night, 7 years ago, Lunia fled the mansion. When she came to her senses, fear took over. She had defied the strict rules of a white marriage, and under the priest's orders, she drugged Hades with a potion. If he found out, he could have easily killed her. So, Lunia felt she couldn't stay there any longer. However, she had no regrets. Now her little boys, Helios and Uranus, would run to her. Being blessed with this miracle, Lunia finally found her place in this world. Suddenly, she'd run into Hades. He finally found her. She would tell her kids that he was a duke from a neighboring country and an old acquaintance of hers, and quickly told them to get into the house to prevent Hades from finding out who they really were, because on that night she spent with him, she saw something. While running away from the mansion, she slipped and fell, causing her ring to slip out. Seeing the Cronoa family crest on it, Lunia suddenly had a vision of two boys clashing under the Cronoa crest, over something neither of them would forgive each other for. She didn't know if it was a dream or a glimpse of the future, but she knew she was carrying twins. They bore the blood of the Cronoa family, powerful beyond belief. So it wouldn't be strange if she'd seen the future through that power. If Helios and Uranus ever got involved with the Cronoa family, they'd grow up to hate each other. This was why Lunia needed to hide the fact that she had twins. If she hadn't spent that night with Hades, he would have gone mad by 30 and been executed by the Empire. Hades shot her a deadly glare, telling her that she had no right to interfere. He never asked her to save him, and questioned why she ran away from the mansion. Lunia could see his rage, fearing he had come all this way to punish her for defying him. She tried to run away, but he'd pinned her against a tree, demanding an answer to why she ran away from him. Lunia confessed to knowing why he didn't want to spend the night with her. It was well known in high society that Lord Hades was close with the Imperial Princess, his childhood friend. But by divine decree, she was chosen as his bride instead. Their marriage only existed to break the curse. Lunia felt his heart belonged to someone else, but she was fine with it. She was also able to find meaning in life by saving him. Since he was free from the curse, she asked him to forget about her and be with the princess. Uranus and Helios would come running to save their mother, but Hades would use his magic to lift Uranus in the air, then grabbed the two of them, letting them know that their mother was his wife, and he'd come to take her home. Lunia was confused, wondering why he came to take her back. She quickly denied being their mother, telling Hades she was simply their sitter, but he warned her to never lie to him again. When asked who their father was, Lord Adonis Cornelia would interrupt, asking him to put the kids down. He was a lord in a kingdom that neighbored Lunia and Hades. In his residence, Adonis explained that he took in Lunia when she was found at a convent. She had never spoken about the children's parentage, and he didn't press her. But Hades didn't care about their father right now. What mattered was that Lunia was his wife, and he was taking her back to the Empire. Lunia was astonished. She assumed they'd be divorced since she left. They weren't even together for a year, so it could hardly be called a marriage. Hades then took her hand, asking if she never truly believed they were husband and wife. Adonis then brought up how the stability of the Virgilus Empire depended on House Cronoa's military and magical strength. With the princess soon to marry abroad and no clear heir in sight, it was only natural that attention would turn to Hades' house. Having his wife missing didn't look good on him. The princess was to marry into Adonis' kingdom, meaning the Virgilus royal family would no longer have direct heirs. Seeing that Hades didn't end up with the princess, Lunia now believed he had come back to use her. Lunia refused to let this happen because she couldn't let her sons get involved with House Cronoa. She told Hades to forget about her and remarry, but he would refuse to divorce her, insisting on taking both her and the children back to the castle. He asked if she'd prefer he tell her parents that she had children. She thought he was threatening her, but Hades claimed he was only trying to protect her. Right now, she had no power to refuse. In her vision, the clash between her sons happened when they were teenagers, which meant there was still time left. So, she agreed to return to the castle and talk things over, peacefully, toward an amicable divorce. On the carriage ride, Helios said he didn't want to go to Hades' house, but his brother assured him that they'd soon return to Lord Adonis' mansion. He had also heard there was a big sea in the neighboring country, just like in the book he was reading. When Lunia asked about the book, Uranus said it was given to them by Adonis. It was a book about the myth of twins. They couldn't read it because the language was really old, but Adonis would read it to them. The book was called The Sky Dragon and the Sun Sword. The story told that once the earth was divided into the sky and the earth. In the sky lived the dragons, and on earth humans. There was a man who was bewitched by a dragon. He became king and ruled the earth with the dragon's power. His wife bore twins and then died. Then, the twins who shared the dragon's power eventually turned on each other, each claiming to be the true king. Lunia was frightened as she realized that this story was about them. The Cronoa family blessed and cursed with inhuman strength and magic, and the twins born into that house would one day become enemies. Just like the vision she saw, she wondered if this meant that she was fated to die, or would she die soon? Suddenly, Uranus mentioned his favorite part was when the twins defeated the dragon together. Helios liked the part where the doctor from the neighboring country saved the sick mother. Lunia was confused because there was no scene about defeating a dragon, and the story clearly said the mother died. She figured Adonis must have told him a different story, a gentle lie. Entering the mansion, Uranus marveled at how big it was. Hades then told them that they were free to use the East Tower however they liked. On the other hand, Lunia saw that it was exactly the same as 7 years ago. She thought they needed to leave this house before it was too late. Late at night, Lunia met with Hades, telling him that she wished to return to the neighboring country tomorrow if possible. So, she wanted to discuss dissolving their marriage. She was flustered as she saw the room because it brought back memories of everything that happened that night. As they stepped outside, Hades explained he was now both a Grand Marshal and the Chancellor of this country. When the next emperor was still young, his duty was to assist him, but in truth, it was different. Hades would actually succeed the throne and become emperor. This meant Lunia wouldn't just be the wife of a duke, but the empress of the country. She was quite stunned hearing this. She only found out yesterday that the princess would be married off to a neighboring country, and that her younger cousin would become the crown prince. People still believed House Cronoa would support the new crown prince, but the emperor said otherwise. He asked Hades to inherit the throne, believing if they placed a child on it, other nations would see a chance to invade. The stability of the empire rested upon the might of House Cronoa, and everyone knew that Lord Hades already held real power in state affairs. Therefore, he was to become emperor. Lunia wondered if the future she had seen was all because of a Cronoa family feud. Refusing to let it happen, she declined to become Hades' empress. Her answer remained the same. She asked him not to think of her as his wife. He mentioned that he was chosen as heir because the Cronoa curse was broken, and she was the one who broke it. Their marriage was decreed by a divine oracle. It was the will of the church. With Hades surviving the curse, Lunia believed her duty was fulfilled. She lied, telling him that the children weren't his and were actually someone else's. He then asked if this was really true, and the guilt ate her up, but she insisted it was true. As Lunia returned to the mansion, Hades reached for her, but retracted his hand and let her go. Unlike you, would you like this video and subscribe to my channel? Beep, boop, it's me, ComfyTea. I am an AI slop garbage channel, not a real person. Guys, you like my AI impression? Well, I don't like it when you watch their videos instead of mine. Because here at my Shoujo Weekly, I'm covering interesting content on a weekly basis made from blood, sweat, and tears from me, a real anime boy. You'll find romance. You'll find drama. You'll find pretty boys. Not just me. And if you're new to the channel and looking for a completed series to binge, I've got a whole playlist for you to watch. So come on, hit that subscribe, or I'm gonna lose to AI. Helios and Uranus watched from the window as their mother returned to the mansion. Uranus then told his brother they'd need a sword for tomorrow, but Helios wasn't confident with a sword. Uranus told him to search the mansion and gather information while he would fight the Duke. Then Helios would help their mother escape, and with this, they would rescue her. The next day, Uranus charged at Hades with the sword he found, but the Duke easily dodged his attack and commended the boy for coming at him head on. However, Uranus didn't care what he thought. As he demanded his mother be let go, Hades disarmed him, letting him know that his swings were too wide, and he shouldn't be flaring out his elbows. Hades then proceeded to teach the boy how to swing properly, and asked him to try again. Helios silently watched as his brother got lectured, then praised Uranus for having the talent to pick things up quickly. He offered to give the boy a sword that would suit him better, and also train with him every day. While Lunia was walking with Helios, she noticed that he seemed sad. She asked if they should have invited his brother, but Helios responded he didn't care about Uranus, making his mother wonder if they had a fight. They'd come across a pretty flower field, and Lunia remembered it wasn't here 7 years ago. She wondered who planted all this. Returning to the mansion, they bumped into Hades and Uranus together. Uranus showed off his new sword to his brother, but Helios would angrily run away, and Uranus chased after him. Lunia then thanked Hades for the sword, though she told him they would return it when they left. But he refused, saying the sword belonged to Uranus now. He also spoke of the boy's talent, and then asked if she was sure the children weren't really his. Lunia nervously confirmed they weren't, but since she'd been lying, he couldn't really believe her. In that case, she felt talking was pointless. The truth was, she was actually shocked when she saw Uranus and Hades standing side by side. They looked so alike. Still, she was only Hades' wife for just 1 year, and that was 7 years ago. That one night, her duty was to break his curse, and she fulfilled her role. As she tried leaving, he pulled her back, asking if she could prove that the children weren't his. Likewise, she asked if he could prove they were his, and if he couldn't, then she kindly wanted a divorce. Recalling the flower field she saw at the back of the mansion, Lunia asked who made it, and he in turn asked if she liked it, leaving her shocked. Later, Nike heard from a servant that Lunia was at the Cronoa residence. Considering their marriage was supposed to be a contract one, following the old legend, he thought they'd divorce when the time was right, and now believed the Duke was locking Lunia up in his mansion. So he made up his mind to get his sister back. Back at the mansion, Helios sat outside, thinking his brother was a liar. He wondered why Uranus was getting along with the evil Duke, after promising they'd save their mother. Nike would then approach him, asking if Lunia was in the mansion, and if there was a set time at night that she liked taking walks. But Helios had no idea. Meanwhile, Uranus asked his mother if she had seen Helios. It was time for bed, and his brother wasn't back yet. Helios also took his matching watch, so he should have known what time it was. Lunia immediately panicked and decided to search for her missing son. Helios was desperately running through the woods to the town he saw beyond the forest. He wanted to get a carriage to go find Lord Adonis, but he'd suddenly slip and fall off a cliff. Helios panicked, wondering what to do as he fell. There was nothing for him to grab onto, so he prayed for someone to save him. Just before hitting the ground, he'd slowly start floating. At that moment, Hades found him and used his magic to pull him back up. Lunia rushed to her son, feeling so relieved that he was safe. Helios would then thank the Duke for saving him, but Hades claimed it wasn't just his magic that helped. When he arrived, magic had already slowed Helios' fall, which is why he made it in time. He believed Helios had a talent for magic. Hades would then guide them back safely, asking that they follow his footsteps, because the area had many dangerous, deep ravines. Meanwhile, Lunia thought about Helios' talent for magic. She recalled the swordsmanship of the Earth Knight and the magic of the Sky Dragon. It was just like the myths and the power inherited by the Cronoa family. Helios apologized to his mother for worrying her, explaining that he wanted to go ask Lord Adonis to come pick them up. Lunia understood he was quite desperate, especially for a 7-year-old to try returning to the neighboring country. She felt she had to get that divorce quickly, regardless of the fact that the kids had blood relations with the Duke. The following day, a letter arrived for Lunia, but she didn't expect it to be from her brother. He invited her to the party celebrating the Persephone family's domain anniversary. He prepared a dress for her and also made arrangements for a carriage to pick her up on the designated day. In the second part of the letter, Nike offered to help her divorce Hades and save her from the Cronoa family. Lunia thought about how she never wanted to go see her despicable family again, but if she got her brother's help, she could finally divorce Hades. Hades would approach Helios, asking if he wanted to study magic. He didn't want to force him, but if Helios wanted, the Duke was offering to teach. Helios was interested, but didn't want to learn from the man. So, Hades gave him a key to the library on the first floor of the West Wing. Helios was free to use the books to learn about magic there. Meanwhile, Lunia was conflicted about what to do. She considered what her brother said about using family reasons to convince Hades to agree to the divorce. Still, she didn't want to see her family. She'd suddenly bump into Helios, causing his books to drop. When she asked about them, he told her that the Duke allowed him to read whatever he wanted from the library, but he still insisted they weren't getting along. Plus, Uranus was always practicing with his sword, which left him all alone. Lunia could tell that he really loved books. She often hid away in the library too. She loved books, but it wasn't just that. She also did it to hide away from her abusive brother. To him, she was nothing more than a toy. He used her however he pleased. So Lunia decided it would only be fair to use him as well. If he said he would help her, then she'd let him. Soon after, she told Hades about the Persephone's domain anniversary party. He mentioned that he had sent a gift for her brother's wedding, but hadn't yet sent a gift to celebrate the birth of Nike's child yet. Lunia was shocked to hear her brother had gotten married, and it happened 3 years ago. This made her wonder if he had settled down a bit. As she asked Hades about Nike's children, Uranus then showed up, complaining about Hades not practicing with him like he said he would. The Duke then assured Lunia that he'd look after the children while she was out. Lunia knew deep down this environment wasn't bad for her beloved children, but still. Hades then mentioned that she never visited her family home when they got married. After hearing about Lunia's strained relationship with her family, he was concerned, so he asked her to be careful. Lunia wished the Duke wouldn't be so concerned about her. She felt guilty because she was deceiving him to ask her brother for help with leaving. On the day she would leave, Hades asked how long she planned on staying, and she told him she would be back at night. She believed divorcing Hades was for the sake of the children. Lunia hated seeing her brother, but sending letters about her escape was too risky. With so many guests and Nike's wife present, she believed her brother wouldn't harass her like before. However, she wondered what her brother's wife was even like. Arriving home, Lunia was greeted by Emma, Nike's wife, and she noticed Emma was quite timid. Nike then showed up, happy to see his sister with the same devious attitude we've come to expect. Emma informed him that his father asked him to come to the office, but he would ignore her, telling Lunia to come to the ballroom quickly because everyone was eager to see her. Lunia tried to let her brother know that his wife was trying to tell him something, but he didn't care about her. He saw her as nothing more than a useless woman. In the ballroom, Lunia told Nike that she wanted to speak with him privately and asked her to wait in the East Lounge. Seeing how Emma was scolded by her father for not being able to call over Nike, Lunia realized nothing had changed. Her terrifying family was still ugly and twisted. Nike would then go to meet with her, and she was ready to immediately go straight to the contents of his letter. She asked him why he thought things weren't going well with her and Hades, and he told her that she was immature and unsuited for marriage. Plus, he had heard Hades was a freak. Above all, it had been 7 years, and he of course also believed she had no children. Lunia was too nervous to tell him the truth. Nike also mentioned that he cleaned her old room and ordered new dresses for her to stay. She was free to use them as she liked. She tried telling him it wouldn't be necessary, but he shoved her while telling her to shut up, and that if she didn't want her room, then she'd have to stay in his. Standing above her, he made it evident there was no way he'd help her without a price. Lunia tried to leave, but her brother refused, shoving her head down. Nike had already sent the coachman back, and there were no more carriages available tonight. 7 years ago, having his toy taken away from him put him in a foul mood, so it was only natural for him to take it back, by any means necessary. She wondered if he just wanted to reclaim her as his pet. Nike assumed her husband ignored her and felt she was lonely. He told the guests that she returned to help him with his work, and they all saw that she came without her ring. So he declared she would be his toy forever. When one of the servants mistakenly walked in on them, Lunia screamed for help. However, Nike ordered him to stand guard and make sure no one came into the wing. Lunia realized coming back to this house was a mistake. Her brother's word was law here, and there was no one who could stop him. Nike enjoyed seeing that look of despair on Lunia, and she thought no one was coming to save her. Just then, Hades forced his way in and was disgusted by the sight of Nike. He assumed something had happened to Lunia since she didn't return tonight as she told him, so he decided to take her back home. But Nike suddenly blurted out that Lunia wanted to divorce and that he would take care of her from now on. Hades' threatening glare left him frozen in place, and then the Duke left with Lunia, saying he would confirm those words from her. When they got outside, he asked Lunia if this sort of thing had happened before. Her hands were still trembling as she recalled what happened, and tears started to flow down her face. Hades then asked if his desire for her to be his wife was a burden as painful as what happened today. To this, Lunia seemed confused, so he told her to disregard it. No, I can't believe the anime ends here. It does have an ongoing manhwa that has nearly 60 chapters, but I skimmed through it and it didn't seem like much happened beyond this point. I could cover it, but I'd probably wait until it finishes. I really enjoyed the premise of this series, and it makes for an interesting drama in my opinion. Also, their 2 kids are pretty cute. But I feel like Lunia is a little too stupid. What do you guys think? Subscribe for more content, but for now, watch this next video. It's me, ComfyTea. I'll see you all in the next one.